Hello, Proxy Table Gaming fans. PTG, Hyper G, and Lucky Sixes are here.
Howdy.
Hey, and this is not only an old world battle report,
Yes,
but it's also the origins of war campaign,
it is. This is the
the
first battle
inaugural.
from our campaign of narrative, where
Yes.
yeah, a little bit extra. If you want to go check out the Origins of Campaign introduction, go check it out on the channel. I'll link it at the end of this video as well.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
we have battle number one, and that's not going to stop us. Even though we're doing this campaign, we're not going to stop bringing the bat reps in. But we
Yeah.
might add a little bit of flavour. And as you say, Dwarves versus Demons. And it is the
Mm.
first of our Origins of War campaign,
It
which we are
is.
doing, like you said.
And in the campaign, we're trying to so that the battle reports are still just as good to anyone who's not interested in the campaign side of things. They're still predominantly 2,000 point battles.
Yep.
Some changes here and there, depending on what happens in the campaign, but most of the time they're going to be 2,000 points versus 2,000 points, using the various armies, the usual selection rules, and so forth. So
Yep. So there's
yeah,
nothing in here that isn't in the books or isn't in
no,
the arcane journals or anything like that. So
hmm exactly,
yeah.
yeah. And we
Which leads us on to our yes.
rolled randomly to see who was creating lists. And in this one, in fact, um, our resident demon player is not one of you or I. It is our third PTG local player,
Yeah.
Statrat, who doesn't get too many games in these days, but nonetheless he does like a demon, and he decided to bring out the demons to play, which meant, because you're not involved in this one, I took on the Dwarven mountain holds and came up with this list. All I knew prior to picking this list was that I had a Rune Lord as my general to play with, Boki Gundrickson.
Yeah.
You know, that be his name. And one of the things that's just gone out recently on our Patreon is the opportunity for our Patreon people to name characters in the campaign and
Yes.
potentially get involved in other ways. So that's where to go if you fancy getting a piece of this campaign pie. But yeah, he is a Rune Lord, is Boki, with Master in Calm. That's the usual extra dwarf bound spell. The 2 runes of warding, 2 runes of stone, and a runes of preservation. He is defensive, effectively. Tough to kill is the idea. Ulthric Cravenson is his BSB support character. He has the Master Rune of Grungni and Master Rune of Smiting. So he is a bit more aggressive compared to Boki's defensive nature. And then the style of this army list, and you can destroy me in the comments if you want, but it's just
Which they
infantry
have before.
blocks. They have before recently and scathingly. But it's fine. That's fine. It's all good fun. We're here to play. And yes, this is 3 big blocks of infantry, because infantry is great in old world, isn't it? You know, big blocks of infantry is where you want to be.
Well,
I got a big block
maybe
of.
these are really big blocks, so
they're
you never know.
they're massive in old world terms. They're humongous. Yeah, 40 dwarf warriors drilled all the thrills and spills. They've got great weapons, so yes, they're expecting to strike last. And with movement 3, they're probably not charging to make much of their initiative. Um, yeah, I usually deck out my champions, etc., with some sort of fun thing. That's kind of my thing at the moment. So they've got a Rune of Fury on the champion for an extra attack, and Rune of Battle on the standard. Then I've got 26 Hammerers and 26 Ironbreakers, and they're full of all the extra bits that you can get for them as well. And that's it. 3 infantry blocks. Let's
So
see what
small.
demons have got to play.
You cannot wait till the first picture. It's so small. Even though these big units, they're so small. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
yes, these Slaanesh
Mm.
demons.
Yes. So Statrat, he decided he was going to bring some Slaanesh demons to play. I think we gave fair rein, didn't we, as to what kind of demons he wanted to bring? Because at this stage it was the first appearance for demons in the campaign. because obviously they are a legacy army book. So they haven't actually got a place on the campaign map going into this. They are spawning in ambush from the mountain holds that the dwarves have delved too deep into. Insert Lord of the Rings Gandalf moment.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. But in this case, it's not Balrog, it's Balezkala. Balezilith.
Perfect.
Yeah. I
Val
nailed that, didn't I?
Yeah, did you?
Nailed that. Yeah. Keeper of Secrets, which is indeed Slaaneshi. Yeah, 2 heralds. Ammon, I can say the second one. Both level 1s, the 2 heralds. Yeah, in core, you've basically got all the Slaanesh stuff. Literally every Slaanesh option you can take. So a big unit of demons. So 24, pretty big infantry block there, right?
Yeah, right.
You know, 6 Seekers, the cavalry kind. 6 Furies, the flying demons. 3 Fiends, who are a bit more beasty. Hellfire, which is the bigger chariot, and the Seeker chariot, which is the little chariot. And the 2 characters were also, well, one of them was in the Demonettes, and the other one was on a Seeker chariot of his own.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
really cool list.
yeah, we played out. I say we played out Clash on the Zandri Road, which is a ambush scenario from the Tomb King's Arcane Journal. So if you want to go look at that in more detail, go check it out. But I have got a little summary here if you want to pause and take a look. But in essence, it's trying to get the generals, I think.
Yeah, it was pretty much. I mean, obviously we converted it. We didn't use an orc war boss, for example, and we changed the armies involved, obviously. But effectively, yeah, the dwarfs, because they had been ambushed by the demons, were deploying in that small box, deployment box in the middle. The demons had to deploy with their demon right in the middle, and got a sort of diagonal deployment zone.
Yeah.
And yeah, you got extra victory points if you managed to kill the opposing side's general, etc. But you had to guard the body as well
You did.
of the general once you killed them. So there was that too.
And just
we were
look
proxying.
at those blocks, man.
Yeah. I mean, my deployment didn't take that long. For me, anyway. You know, yeah, I just got some dwarf models out. And some of them still need a bit of paint, but, you know, they're dwarfs. Yeah, and Statrat was using various contraptions of my lizard man, or there's some ogre models in there as well, and there's a gargantula too, or Ragnarok,
All sorts of
whatever
proxy.
that's called. Yeah, all sorts of proxy going on here, but yes, what you can see. So from left to right, you've got the Hellflayer is the one on the far left. Then you've got the Seeker. Or was the Hellfire actually the small one? I can't remember which is which now. But yeah, the character is the ogre model, the big Thunder Tusk model. That's the character. And the Bastillodon model is also a character. I think no, that's just a Seeker. The small one is the Seeker. Yeah, that's right. I can't remember what anything's called because it's demons and we haven't used demons very much. The cavalry are the 6 models.
They're the Seekers.
It's the Seekers. Has he got 2 of them,
So,
actually?
Yeah, let's get them.
Or, no, they're on the same base, aren't they? The Fiends. Oh, yeah, the Fiends, of course. We were proxying, but there was actually the size of 2 cavalries. Does that make sense? So it looks like we're using individual cavalry models, 6 and 6, but actually the Fiends are 2 cavalry models per base. So that would make sense. The ones on the left are the Fiends. The ones on the right are the Seekers. So, yeah, you got your Demonettes next to the General, the Keeper of Secrets, and the Furies are vanguarded forward as well already because they obviously fly and vanguard pretty far.
Yeah, and then it goes into turn 1 for the Demons.
Yes, Samurai got first turn as well. Not that there was really much that I would have really done in my turn 1, because I didn't have magic much other than the Rune of Calm, which is out of range of everything. And the dwarfs are set. they're in. They need to wait until to see what the demons do before they can really do much about it. I mean, there was, if I'd have been able to deploy it on the flanks, then maybe I might have deployed on the flank and then castled up. But obviously, I
Sure.
was in the middle and very aware that Slaaneshi could run rings around them. And that's literally what Statrat starts doing, really, with a forward advance.
Yeah.
Everyone coming forward. The Seekers on the top of your picture, they begin a wide arc round. Goes for a Doombolt, and I think miscasts, which rolls number 2. Doesn't cause any damage to himself, I don't think. But all good there. And yeah, this I think this might be after my movement as dwarfs, because
Sure.
this picture you're now looking at now, that was the extent of dwarf movement.
So we go straight on to the turn.
Straight on to turn 2. And I think what Statrat does is he moves up ever so slightly more, because he's got such movement on the Slaaneshi demons. Such movement. And yeah, so this Hellfire gets all the way around, which is, terrifying, really, that not only are you going to have multiple things coming into your front, but chances are you're also going to have flank and maybe even rear charges. Whether or not I should have backed up and gone right on the board edge, but I don't think that's a great idea because of give ground and all that lot,
Sure.
Like, in a world where you could have fought a combat and then stayed still, even if you lose, that might have been an option, but I don't think it really was. The Seekers are making their way around as well, a little bit more tentatively, but a few magic missiles go off, kill a dwarf with the summoning.
Yep. Not killing much.
As you do.
Not killing much.
Why not? Mm-hmm. And yeah, in turn dwarf. Oh well, you've got turn 1 movement there, but yeah, I think
so. That's turn 2.
Yeah. Yeah. It was because it was hard to tell what was going on. But yes, so the turn orders might be slightly out there, or I might be wrong actually. To be fair, you never know. I mean, that Hellflayer on the bottom of your picture has got a lot of movement. So
sure.
And also, actually thinking about it, because it was diagonal deployment, maybe it was able to get there in one turn. Maybe I'm underselling the Slaaneshi movement, actually.
Maybe.
But anyway, yeah. So the surrounding begins, and I sort of like slant some dwarfs to see who's going to charge them. Just start waving my shields around and say, "Come on, then!"
Yeah. And that's about it, though. There's not much in the way of not much in the way of offensive or like range or anything.
No, nothing to shoot with. I think I had like a pistol on the BSB.
Sure.
But he was out of range for the first turn or so. And Statrat Demons weren't going to hang around.
Yeah.
So.
And speaking of not hanging around, they end up coming right at you. Yeah.
Pull the trigger. I mean, we were talking about it, and I was trying to be quite coy, like, I wonder if you win this fight. I wonder if you win this fight. And Statrat knows what he's doing. Like, just charge everything into one unit and smash it to pieces and try to ignore the other two, which is the way to deal with, like when you've got limited points that you can achieve. Just go kill one of them and then see what happens. So 5 charges into my dwarf warriors. So these are the core dwarf warriors. I think we worked out that not all of them could fit. Because of various rules that you have to maximize and all this lot.
Sure.
But I think we played it relatively like which ones did Statrat want to get in, because once they'd all got in, and that meant that the fiends behind just sort of stumbled forwards. I'm still unsure whether I've got the fiends and the seekers the right way around.
Sure.
But they're both there, so all good. And it's going to be a fight. We're going to see how many of these dwarfs can live. They have got great weapons. It's just whether or not I'll get any attacks at all, because I've got no characters in there. So it's literally just core dwarfs led by a champion. So we will see.
Yeah, and he chaffs your other unit to stop them getting in.
Furies come in ahead of the hammerers. I think they were hammerers. Yes, it was hammerers in the middle. And this cav unit, whichever unit it is, comes all the way around the flank.
Yeah,
and
presumably he's able to get so close because your charge range is so slow.
it's
So
so
low.
small. Yeah, exactly. Movement 3, max charge 6, max charge is 9. Like, you know,
That's
that, and
crazy.
when
Yeah.
you've got movement 9, 918 on Slaaneshi demons a lot of the time, they can pick their fights and they can wait.
Yeah. So that's just
Because I've
hopefully
slanted these ones.
they can take a charge.
Well, that's the hope. That's the hope.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, that's what Iron Breakers are all about. They're supposed to be tough nuts. Speaking of taking a charge, though, considering 3 chariots come in with impact hits, and then the attacks on top are all happening before the dwarves. The dwarves don't do too badly, you know.
Yeah, right.
Didn't lose that many. Now, what we found was basically is, apart from the characters, a lot of the Slaanesh stuff is relatively low strength and not always high armor piercing either. And those are the 2 things, toughness and armor, that dwarves have a fair amount of. And so what Starrat found was it was all very well charging everything into these dwarfs, but rolling 5s to wound pretty much for everything was tough. It was tough. He didn't do overly well on his impact hits, so there was that. But it did mean I had a few attacks back, and did 2 wounds to the Seeker Chariot because that was the squishiest target, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, not too shabby for the dwarves. I think I do give ground. Oh no, looks like I've fallen back in good order actually, because it meant that the Hellflayer on the side had to then charge my front because that was now where I was, which is weird. Because I think I had to fall back in good order from the highest unit strength. Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? And when I had gone back, then the Hellflayer on the side was in my front instead of my flank. And so he followed up with everything. Obviously, he knows he's chaffed the hammerers with the Furies. So just do this again. Sure. And I think it's all impact hits again, of course, which is tough.
Because over 3 inches,
yeah. So my hammerers take the charge on the Furies. Got to get rid of them, or I'm just going to be stood there forever. You know, there's no reason not to. There's no coyness about that. And my Iron Breakers just turn so that both the Seekers and the Demonettes are in the front for now. But I'm already expecting, a bit more to be going on here.
Yeah.
What was this? It was obviously something good for me because I've got a lot of 6s.
Dispelling spells, maybe?
Maybe. I don't know. I can't remember.
We're good.
Unless it's the pistol. I might have killed one with a pistol shot or something. No.
Fair enough.
No, can't remember. It was a little while ago. Yes, so I killed the Furies, which is awesome. I didn't think that the Demonettes would fancy a rear charge on Hammerers, just because Hammerers are actually quite good, even in the rear. And Demonettes, like we found out, would struggle to get through the toughness. So the Hammerers turn around to face the fight, and I'm just hoping now that the Dwarf Warriors will hold out long enough that the Hammerers can actually get in and cause some damage. But technically, the Dwarves are winning on victory points because I killed the Furies.
Absolutely.
Linehammer came into action on the first fallback in good order. So I went as wide as I was legally able to, with the whole restrictions on how far you can move, or how many models you can get into the front rank and stuff like that. And it kills about the same amount in this round of combat as he did the turn before. But I believe my dwarves whiff quite a lot with their attacks.
Well, if he's going first, that seemed like a few more than last time.
Sure, a few more were killed. Yeah, I think maybe I just actually managed to wound with everything I attacked with last turn, whereas this time I rolled a few misses and stuff like that. I didn't have much left, as you can see. But yeah, because I'd gone wider, I had a few attacks still, but they just didn't come through this time around. Yeah, but they're hanging on. Those dwarves, they're hanging on. Of course, at this point, then that would be the end of my turn when I've charged the hammerers. And so I have got to last one more turn. It's going to be Demon's turn coming up next.
Yeah.
So before the hammerers can declare that charge. I did wonder whether Statrat would actually chaff the hammerers, but instead he moved that unit of seekers or fiends. I think actually now I can work it out now because we've got some brotlings on the back of those ones at the bottom right. They're the fiends. The
Right.
seekers, the ones at the top, because they're not as
Sure.
deep. Now that's right. Yeah, there you go. See, I was right all along.
Easy.
Yeah. And yeah, the seekers don't fancy a charge into the hammerers. I thought they might even chaff the hammerers and keep the hammerers busy. But Statrat was confident that his 3 chariots and keeper of secrets were going to eventually get through the dwarf warriors. So yeah, there we go.
And
The demonette's
his confidence paid off.
Yeah, I mean that's probably more wounds without impact hits.
Yeah.
Like, what's that about?
Crazy.
I think I don't know whether it was bad rolling up until that point or whether this one spiked, but this one did well. And effectively that was because this is without impact hits. Like,
Yeah.
that's more. So yeah, and it did mean that the dwarfs fled and broke quite convincingly. Statrat pursued with everything. A fair amount of it went off the board or nearly off the board. I thought basically everything went off the board that could have done. So the picture before was before he'd done his full overruns.
Yes.
But yes, everything pretty much got away to safety. And that meant that the hammerers just had to just approach the things as they were coming back on the board and just say, fine, you've killed some of our friends, but are you going to have the cojones to actually charge a unit of hammerers now? Because that's slightly different kettle of fish or troop of dwarfs.
Sure.
But it is all of my core gone, in that block. So I am down to 2 blocks, and basically, what can the blocks do other than just say, "Come at me"?
Come at me. Yeah, that's it.
And so, come at me, they did eventually. This time, he pulled the trigger the other direction. The ones on the bottom left, they needed to come back onto the board. Although, technically, I think the demon, the keeper of secrets, may have stayed on the board the entire time. But obviously, dwarfs only had 9-inch charge, so still out of range. So yeah, going into the demon's turn now, pulls the trigger on these ones with the fiends in the back, the seekers, and the demonettes in the front. And I think, not think, this actually shows it. The demonettes failed their charge, which was a bit weird because, like, you'd think they're not that far away. But actually, they didn't have, they just rolled low on their 2 dice because they didn't have Swift Stride.
Sure.
Whereas the 2 cav units absolutely made it in. In terms of the other movements, the units, the character on the chariot and the seeker chariot just again use their maneuverability to go around the iron breakers to support later on, while the keeper of secrets and the hellflayer just stare at the hammerers come on the board and just give them a bit of distance. They're not ready to go in just yet. And why would they rush? Why would they rush? So, Statrat's playing this one pretty tight at the moment, and that potentially is the restriction of having big blocks, is that especially ones that can't move.
Yeah.
Does a few magic missiles, kills a few hammerers, etc. as well. So chipping away. Why not? And over here, this was interesting because iron breakers are freaking tough.
Yeah, man. What, 3 dead?
And a 3-up armor save on infantry is amazing. They just wouldn't die. And yeah, it was great because they managed to, because they didn't lose too many, like 2 in the rear rank and 1 in the front, they managed to swing back. Now, obviously, they're not great weapon people. That's the hammerers and the dwarf warriors. So the ironbreakers aren't as good at killing, but they still managed to finish off the whole fiend and they also managed to kill off a couple of Seekers in the front.
Yeah.
And so I think that the Dwarfs, I'm not sure if they won, because I think the Demons have something that took away their rank bonus.
First charge.
First charge, yeah, that would be it. Yeah, or something like that. So I'm not sure. It was either very tight or, etc. But it does go into Dwarfs next turn, the combat, and it moves on really quick into this after combat picture because effectively the Hammerers just turned around. That was the Dwarf movement. There's nothing else to do, and then it was straight into the combat phase. And things continue in the fact that the Ironbreakers only lose 2, killed 2 more Seekers, and the Fiends take 2 wounds, and the Ironbreakers are proving tough to shift to the extent that they actually won that combat, and the Fiends have to fall back in good order. Is that right? That was right.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like. They still have to do that, even though the whole demon instability and all that lot. Yeah. So now going into the demons next turn, technically the Ironbreakers are only fighting the Seekers in the front, and so I mean, admittedly, they now have a Hellflayer and all sorts about to charge them.
They do have a turn.
This demonstrates. Yeah. And yeah, everything comes back in against them basically. Not sure how we worked out that the Demonettes could charge into this.
I think it's a character.
Oh yes, the character charges on his own to begin with. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, but everything else comes into the Ironbreakers, and the Demons are going to see how really tough they are.
Yeah,
there's a few impact hits will make a big difference.
There's everything in. There's the whole board.
Yeah, everything got in. It's just easy pictures takers really, because it's just like same point for the camera every time.
That's it.
Yeah, but the Keeper of Secrets, because the Hammer has presented a rear, he fancied that one. And actually, it's fair to say StatRat was sensibly, I don't need to charge the rear of the Hammerers. Like, you turned around, I could just maul the Ironbreakers for as long as possible, and then move my Demon character and my Hellflayer up and just stand behind your Hammerers. But I'll see what happens.
Sure.
In the campaign setting, if that makes sense. So he wanted to see what happens there. Yeah. A few more Ironbreakers go down because of impact hits, effectively, is the reason. It does reduce the Ironbreakers' attacks further. Most of those casualties were in the rear, so not a lot was attacking those chariots behind, for obvious reasons. So they didn't have the attack.
What's the guy with the dice next to him?
The guy with the dice next to him, I believe, is the champion, the Ironbreaker champion. So I think there was an overkill by the demon character, the Herald, who charged, which is the single model on the right of that picture, of that combat. So in the challenge, the character died, the champion died, and I only managed to kill 1 Seeker as well. So the Seekers are hanging on. The Fiends have now got back up.
And you were surrounded?
I was surrounded. Yeah, the Dwarves were surrounded, so they couldn't go anywhere. So effectively, it just continued, which meant the Hammerers, well, because they were engaged, there was the chance that they wouldn't be able to help the Ironbreakers. But actually, Hammerers are good, man.
Yeah.
So I think there was a challenge. And my Rune Lord stepped up to fight against the Keeper of Secrets. He's a boss. Yeah. He's a boss, is Boki.
Yeah. Sure.
Absolute boss. But what you will notice, I kind of think from this picture, it kind of shows it, is that no, this was fine. Boki did actually step up to this challenge, and he took 2 wounds for his trouble, but he did survive. And yeah, that was good for Boki, because it meant that the Hammerers didn't die quite as much. The Hellflayer killed a couple of Hammerers, but when the Hammerers struck back against the Hellflayer, killed.
Yeah.
Hellflayer smashed into smithereens. So very cool. Although on reflection, and can't remember if Hammerers got 2 attacks on their profile or 1, But thinking about it, we might not have done it correctly for supporting attacks.
Sure.
Fighting rank at that point.
Add an extra 1 or 2, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. But either way, the hammerers are.
So the hammerers go on a rampage.
And they were free. They were free to charge. So they did. So yeah, they charged into the flank of the character, the herald on the chariot, which is amazing, really. Having 2 blocks support each other is a big difference. So yeah, we'll see how the hammerers get on. And there you go. Carnage ensues. But there is an issue. Well, I say carnage ensues, but actually not a lot of damage was dealt in this one.
A lot of dwarves still on the table.
A lot of dwarves still on the table. And what happened was the demon character on the chariot, so the big base, he issued a challenge. Now, my Ironbreaker champion is dead, so he couldn't accept the challenge. My Hammerers champion was still alive, but I tried to work out why didn't the Hammerer champion accept? Maybe he died earlier. No, can't have done. Don't know. But yeah, the BSB
because he's the general
challenge.
Oh,
yeah,
right, okay.
yeah. No, the BSB declined the challenge, or rather, I declined the challenge. Let's not try and pin the blame on any particular dwarf. You know, what I should have done is potentially accept the challenge with either my Hammerer champion. But if I had have done, then the Hammerers wouldn't have attacked at all.
Sure.
It would have just been the champion because the Hammerers aren't in touch with anyone else. So that's why the Hammerer champion didn't accept the duel. And what StatRat did quite correctly was he sent my BSB to the back to not be able to fight. Hence the name Cravenson coming into full effect, because the BSB ran away from that challenge effectively. And what I didn't pay into mind was the fact that yes, my Hammerers would be attacking, but unfortunately that meant the Rune Lord was a little bit vulnerable to the actual Herald's attacks. And despite all those runes of stone, runes of warding, rune of preservation, 1 wound got through on the Rune Lord, and so Rune Lord Boki was killed dead. The Ironbreakers managed to kill the last Seeker, but apart from that, not a lot happened in the other part of it. So yeah, it goes on. And on it went to the point that basically we just kept fighting and not a lot kept on happening. It was like, I think what happened in the end was that the demons had to back off the fight because they just weren't getting through, and the Hammerers had to stand on top of the general's body to stop the demons from getting him, because that was part of the victory points. And so in the end, not a lot died in terms of demons. It was just the Hellflayer and the Furies and the Seekers. But not a lot died on the dwarfs, except they were quite expensive because it was one whole Rune Lord character and the Dwarf Warriors, which overall made up 900 points. Now, because the dwarfs Hammerers, because they ended up standing on the Rune Lord's body, the demons didn't get extra points for that.
Yeah.
They still got the general points that you'd normally get in a battle, but didn't get the points for claiming the body of the general. So the dwarves managed to defend the objective, really. The demons get the win in ambush. And you can absolutely imagine that the Slaaneshi demons just basically came in, slew the Rune Lord, and then decided, we'll get out of there. Because the fight just wasn't worth carrying on, because the dwarves were pretty tough. And those infantry blocks, man, they held their nerve.
Okay. So with a bit of character loving, maybe it would be.
I think so. I think Boki will return, or will he? Because in the campaign he had to roll a death roll. And what did he roll? Do you remember?
He survived.
Or are we saving? Oh yeah. I was gonna say, are we saving that for the after? campaign turn 1
Oh,
summary.
right, okay. Yeah.
But
Spoilers.
spoiler.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed the first of the Origins of War campaign. Like we said, we're going to be doing bat reps anyway, so if you're not interested in the campaign, that's fine. You can still comment on lists because we're still interested in that. They will be fluffier, slightly fluffier lists. You might have some odd general
Hence the
choices.
blocks of infantry.
Yeah,
You know, I know it's not supposed to be any good.
but otherwise, you know, we might come a crop of something that you're playing as well, maybe as well. So if you're playing the all infantry, good luck to you. And let us know how it's been going for you, or what you change about these lists, or some of the armies that you come up against. Otherwise, check us out on Facebook and Twitter. And if you want to get involved, as we said, we've directly spoken to the Patreons and are reaching out to that, and might reach out further. But the Patreons are the first dibs on getting directly involved in the campaign itself, or just getting us a battle, which we've had a few times as well with a few of them. So get on that. Otherwise, check out Warhol, a great way to play online with other people.
Got a couple of battles coming up on Warhol, haven't we, actually?
Yeah. Otherwise, we're on lots of WhatsApp groups and all the social medias, so go check us out. But the first and foremost, like, share, subscribe, comment away, and we hope you enjoyed our first campaign battle.
Origins of War.
Yeah. But until next time, thank you very much for watching, and see you later.